Chapter 7. Hannah stepped out of the limo and said, "You don't have to wait for me, I'll be fine. My friend Gabriella is outside in the courtyard." The driver didn't move, nodded his head at her. Hannah marched to the gate, and then looked back to see him standing attentively watching her. She strode through the open gate and to the back of the apartment. The driver smiled and climbed back into the car after he saw Hannah disappear inside the gate, and it locked behind her. Sitting in dim light on a wooden bench circling an oak tree, she watched who she thought was Gabriella. Brian or Chase had been chatting with her. The discussion stopped on noticing her sitting. Thinking it odd for one to be there and not the other, Hannah rose and walked over to approach both of them. She noticed that it wasn't one of Gabriella's boys as she called them, but Justin. He glanced at her and all around at once. Standing with her cloth satchel in her hand, she said, "What are you doing here, Justin? I saw you only an hour ago." "I seem to be hearing that a lot. And it was more like 2 hours. Gabriella invited me." Hannah turned to Gabriella for an answer. "I like Justin." She placed her arms around his shoulders and kissed him on the cheek. Hannah felt a bit jealous. She never considered Justin. She thought of him as a friend and wondered where that emotion was coming from. Justin is a good guy, and he appears to be concerned about you. You need someone to look after you. When I didn't hear from you, I called him and asked had he heard anything. You and I are the same age, Gabriella, and I don't need you to act like a mother. I left my mother and father's house, remember? I'm here, as you can see. What could possibly happen to me? You never said you were moving out, Justin said to Hannah. I didn't think I had to tell anyone but my parents. Now you're trying to tell me what to do. I don't think I want to trade one prison for another. And you should be the last person to have anything to say about where I go. You're nothing to me but a friend. Justin's eyes grew sad and he stared up at the moon. I want to protect you. See, Hannah, you have a man who wants to protect you. Haven't you heard? You know that club called the Maze near campus? Well, they found a body in the garbage. Just think, that could have been me, or you, or maybe the boys and Justin, Gabriella said, her voice rising in panic. Justin looked at Gabriella. Her brown eyes wide as she recounted what she had read or heard on the news. There's a female detective heading the case, and they have someone as a suspect. I hope it's that Jovani character, Justin mumbled. Hannah glared at him, narrowing her eyes. Why would you say that, Justin? Gabriella said. You're just jealous. He took a liking to Hannah, and now you're so jealous your eyes are changing colors. Frankly, I like it when a man is jealous. Why else do I have my 2 boys with me at the same time? I'm going in, Gabriella, we have a lot of packing to do. It's cold outside, and if you 2 want to hang and talk about gruesome stuff. Go ahead, Hannah said, making a move for the door. The clouds passed and overhead hung a large moon, as if someone had placed it there. It appeared close, too close. I have to pack too. I'm going to leave you 2 to iron out your differences. She started walking away and then turned and said, If I were you, Justin, I would be jealous of that handsome billionaire. You're good looking, but he's a billionaire. And she left smiling and happy that she had caused some confusion in Hannah and Justin's life. Gabriella lived for the drama, anyone's drama. If she was trying to be a matchmaker, it wasn't happening. Not after Hannah had been with Jovani, and not after he had kissed her. No one had ever kissed her the way Jovani did, and no one ever would. She was his now, and Justin couldn't compete with him. And then Hannah thought about how Jovani had sent her quickly away. Now she didn't exactly know how she felt, but she knew one thing. She had been annoyed with Justin because of his meddling in her life. And the stalking. She would never get used to that, even if he claimed it was because he was trying to protect her. I'm going in and help Gabriella. Don't go. I want to talk to you. Please sit just for a few and I promise I won't keep you long. Justin held her hand, and now she knew the difference. His touch warm and comforting, and Jovani's touch cold and filled with excitement and passion. All right. Hannah sat down near Justin. They didn't talk for a minute. And then her emotions came spilling out to him. I'm not for you. I'm in love with Jovani. You haven't given me a chance. What do you know about love? You think because he's rich that makes him better than me. It doesn't because I'm rich too. I probably don't have as much as him, but then I'm not 100 years old. This is outrageous. She rose from her seat. Are you trying to tell me that a man who looks like him is that old? I know you're the one I should stay clear of because you have lost your mind. Listen to me. Not only is he old, but he has a concubine looking for him. Why would a man like him have to run from a woman? Because he doesn't want her. For what reason I don't know, but he's running from his past, and that past is full with death, and you see why you can't be with him. Now I know one of us has lost his or her mind. And if I listen to you any longer, I will go crazy. She walked hurriedly away from Justin, and she didn't know when he caught her, but he did, and as she reached for the door, he stood in front of it. You have to listen to me, his voice frantic. I didn't listen to him when he said that you were a werewolf. I laughed at him. Justin's face changed from a serious stare to a sour expression. He told you the truth. The silence filled the air. Hannah didn't hear any night creatures, owls or insects. She didn't hear the faint sound of a car horn or the sirens of a police car or a stray cat stalking the area. All she heard were the words of Justin, and she tried to ignore them. Let me go, Justin. Hannah turned to reach for the doorknob, and Justin placed his hand over it. Gazing at him, she said, I see we're back where we started. I can't let you walk away from me until you hear what I have to say. I don't want to hear any more. I want my life back. I wish I had never met you or Jovani in that alley. That spilled out before she had a chance to think. Wait. You met him in the alley where I found you. Hannah turned her head to the left and right and closed her eyes briefly. She didn't want to answer his questions. She nervously bit her thumb. It's a long story, she said, raising her voice lightly. One you have to tell. The man on the news. The tall one they found in the alley in a garbage bin was the very same man who tried to rape and kill me. When I woke, I was in Jovani's arms. He saved me. And that's why you think you love him? Of course not. I know when I feel something. I have never felt that before. Not even for you, and I've been around you for months. I looked into his eyes and I saw a kind heart. He doesn't have a heart. Justin raised his voice, trying to get through to Hannah, who looked confused. She stared at him with a narrow gaze. Not one that beats. He's cold and unfeeling. Feel me. Hear my heartbeat. You've been near him. Can you honestly say that you've heard or felt anything beat inside of his chest? Justin reached for her hand and placed it on his chest. Did you feel the same thing with him? No. Admit it. Justin's voice reached the peak of desperation. In Justin's concern to get Hannah to understand what she was being drawn into, he became more frightening to her than Jovani. Hannah didn't want to see what was right before her. She didn't want Justin to force her to admit what her mind knew. But her body said something completely different. She was Jovani's, and nothing and no one could separate them. She would give herself to him if she got the chance. Justin watched into Hannah's petrified eyes, and he knew what she thought. He knew that he hadn't made a dent in her conscience and convinced her of the truth. The truth that Jovani wasn't a man after all, not in the sense that she understood. But that didn't matter. All that mattered to Hannah was that she be with him. I'll let you go. I don't want to scare you away from me. I am what he said I am. I'm a werewolf, and I'm the one who loves you. When you're ready to come to me, I'll protect you from him. I don't want to be protected from Jovani. I don't want you to come between us. There's someone already coming between you two. His lies and pretense will divide you more than the truth ever will. But I'll be waiting for you. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I'll be there for you. Justin spun around and walked away. Through the gates and down the street, and then he turned quickly to see that Hannah had disappeared behind the door. The next moment he heard something and he glanced up at the moon, and then when he focused, standing in front of him stood Jovani. Why don't you howl at the moon? I hear you wolves do that when you can't mate and when you're in heat. And I hear you vampires are afraid of werewolves. When you're sleeping, I'll be with Hannah. When you're out stalking your next victim, I'll be with Hannah. You can be my next victim. Not without a bloody fight that neither one of us can win. But if I lose, then you will have a pack of werewolves stalking you night and day. Do you think the Samsa werewolves will rest if you kill one of us? They will hunt your entire coven and destroy them. We are over 25 strong, and I am the youngest of my father's pack in his blood. He would kill you if it were the last thing he ever did in this life. That all sounds so threatening, and it may save your life today, but we will meet again. And you will not be able to talk yourself out of the inevitable. You made your choice to come between me and Hannah, and I will not stand for that, Jovani said, his voice hard and his eyes blazing as he strolled up the street. A dark limo drove up to the curb and stopped, and Jovani pulled the handle to the door and disappeared behind the dark windows, and the car angled and pulled into the merging traffic.